And today, we're having another special day, special Sunday on AUK Radio. It's about cost of living in Luton here. What are the impact on youth and families? What are the impact on African community here? And today, on this special Sunday, we've got Naomi Mbungue, volunteer at Protect Project, which is a registered charity based in Luton here. Protect Project protect and promote the right and welfare of African children. Cost of living may include expenses related to housing, food, education, healthcare, leisure. Rising living costs are a serious threat to well-being. How are you doing, Naomi?
I'm doing well, thank you, Junior. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's been a long. I remember when AUK Radio started 10 years ago.
10 years ago, to be precise. Yes.
You used to join us.
Yes.
You one of our big supporter. I will recognize that one of our big from the earliest stage, from the early beginning.
Yes, as we say, from the genesis, from the very beginning, I was there, and a few other young people as well. But as I've said to mention beforehand, I will always give up my time to come here at the AUK Radio because this is our home. This is my home, and if this via this station as well has also boosted myself to be where I am and to where I'm going towards as well. So I'm deeply, deeply grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you for that. I remember that you were BBC Three Counties
That's
Radio,
correct.
one of the youngest producer.
Yes, I was 14 at the time.
You were 14 at that time.
Yes.
And you embrace yourself. You learn. You born and bred in London.
Yes.
But you embrace Luton as one of your second home.
Luton is indeed my second home. I would say I fell in love with Luton for my childhood. So the moment I stepped into Luton, I knew that in the upcoming future, I would definitely settle in Luton because the community here is very connected. It's very different to London. There's a lot of diversity here in Luton, and people, they just treat you as if you're just one of them. So that's why I just love Luton. And also there's other reasons why, but Luton is home for me.
It's not a new territory. It's a home for you. And you made it your home as well. You involve in a lot of activities, community activities, your Protect Project a volunteer. Tell us about your volunteers' role at Protect Project.
One of the things that I have been doing in Protect Project is not started from today. I remember a few years back there was also various courses that we did attend as well for Protect Project, and it's very sensitive to me and it's close to home because we are implementing something positive in the lives of this young African upcoming generation. And it's not just where we just focalize on certain things that is just basic, but we are teaching them certain things that is not taught in school. So we are teaching them certain things that will help them in the upcoming future for their careers, for their own personal attributes as well, to boost their characters and also to build their self-esteem, and also for them also to raise awareness about certain things when it's very wrong. I believe that there's a few years back, if I'm correct, it was in 2015, 2016, there was a course that we did in regards to something that's very dear in the African community, how it's dealt in terms of when people have been assaulted or molested. We did touch upon that a few years ago, and it's not just that one thing, but it's also the approach of how we can help these build also interpersonal skills, how you can help them within the workplace, because I believe in school does its bit, but us community those who has to implement certain things
very important. So do you think those skills, the life skills, are lacking among youth, African youth?
I would say so. One thing I've also observed is also parents, in terms of they've come from back home, they've come here, and they're just teaching them certain things that is quite limited. And we are, as an organization, we just want to boost them and kind of motivate them and show them certain things that will help them as well. And also certain things that I've also learned, not within this organization, and also how to build myself up as well as a business person.
Definitely. Let me introduce that. You're a business owner.
Yes.
You're a youth advisor, and you are a business owner yourself, so you wear many hats there.
That's true.
I will highlight that. And you've been involved in youth activities, in a Christian basis youth activity for many years, and you combine it with Protect Project as a volunteer. And now you highlight it quite perfectly in terms of mitigating the gap there to fail. Families going through different challenges in this particular time with regard to cost of living. How does the cost of living now is affecting families in Luton, Black African families?
Cost of living is affecting families. What I've observed is there are certain, when it goes to first of all education, there are various after school clubs that has been offered to some children, but not all parents can afford certain things. But instead of some, for example, some trips or other classes that is outside of school as well, because of funding, because of they haven't met the criteria. There are certain criteria that's for parents, or if it's either a single parent or is it a joint, is that a family itself. So it has affected a lot of children in terms of their clothing. Many parents cannot afford uniform for their kids, surprisingly. Whereas I remember in my generation, uniform, you would get uniform, the school would offer uniform, the school would give some vouchers for you to purchase uniforms, but it's not as available as beforehand. And it's very tough, where I've seen certain kids going to school and you will look at them thinking, wow, do you go into school dressed like that? But the parents
can afford uniform.
They can't afford uniform. School lunches, for instance, the free school meals was something that was offered to many parents. But now parents have to do packed lunches because of the hours that they work. There is a certain criteria that has to be met. And when you look inside the school lunches, you'll be surprised at what is offered to the kids. There's breakfast clubs that I don't know if it still existed in some schools, but this was something that there was after school clubs where children were also looked after. And it's the resources are being quite restricted now.
I remember that the breakfast club, it used to be early in the morning, isn't it? Children who attend, I remember sometime you drop your kids, they'll remind you that if you come before 8, say around 7:30, you'll be able to have a breakfast in the morning.
Exactly. Whereas now, many kids are going to school and they're not even having breakfast. They just wake up, brush their teeth, wash, and go straight to school. Where breakfast is one of the most important things to start off the day. In order for them to be able to understand what the teacher is saying to them, they need to start off the day correctly, with also ensuring that they have their 5 a day.
So that's your observation as a Protect Project volunteer.
Correct.
So you observe that around your circle of families and friends, that's things that you'll be discussing in the families, is it? Within a Protect Project.
It's certain things that we have discussed with families and also children as well.
They're able to share the views with regard to what the challenges their families, our children are noticing, or are able to notice that we're going through challenges.
Children are able to notice, and especially this generation, they're very much aware about what is going on. Whereas before, things will be coded, where you want to speak in a coded language. That doesn't work anymore.
They know we're going through
difficulties. Why would they even know that? They will also compare themselves to their friend and their classmate. They'll be like, well, my classmate has this. How come I don't have this? And when they will come and bring this or present this to the table, the reaction of the parent will automatically indicate or trigger a pain that my own child, I'm not able to provide this. As a parent, they'll begin to think, am I even able to say that I'm a mother? Or it's just to underestimate their ability as a parent, if that makes sense. So the cost of living is affecting a lot of people, especially we're talking touch base upon the African community. There is the funding in terms of after school clubs, there's football, there's various skills that our children can also embark on. But many parents are just limited, where stay on the social media, go to school, come back home, stay on social media. Whereas there's many activities, the funding that is also available, where parents are also unaware of as well. So us as an organization, we really want to come forward and to support these families.
But sometimes it's stigma, isn't it? I've been discussing with, I had a guest here, I think a month ago, when she was highlighting the fact that when you, as a parent, you're going through financial struggles, it's a stigma. You don't want to disclose it. You don't want to share it with people. For you may be branded that how people do understand. Sometimes it's difficult for the community to
Exactly.
understand each one's struggle.
Yes. And sometimes it's a certain taboo within the community where people
Within our African
within our
community.
African
So we're
community.
proud to keep things on.
We like to keep things closed. We're very conservative. We like to keep things in a box. Whereas if we were able to share and feel as if, okay, I can share this with someone else, you never know, they will be able to provide you certain details, and for example to contact ourselves in the Protect Project, and we'll be able to give you certain advice as well. But it's also a thing where it's vice versa. How will the other person receive it? Will the other person tarnish will speak bad about me, or would they be able to offer support? So I believe it's also a work that we need to do within the community. And it's like I said, it's a stigma, and it's something that is very, very taboo, because many people will say everything is well in my house, everything is well, everything is in order.
I'm controlling.
I'm
I'm in control.
Whereas we're human. There's sometimes that we can lack in a certain area, and maybe the person next to you will be able to offer support, offer advice, and will be able to just give you the right contacts as well, which is very important.
Do you think we'll have a break in about couple of minutes?
Okay.
But we'll come back. I know you highlight quite important issues there in terms of mental health. That is a topic that we're going to have. You my regular guest on
Yes.
AUK Radio
Yeah.
to tap into the cost of living.
Yes.
This is the first of other episode
yes.
which might come in a few weeks to come. So you got a lot of things to discuss in terms of in terms of cost of living. So do you think all these affecting the quality of life?
It is affecting the quality of life, but I also believe that within ourselves as well, we need to also create a wonderful atmosphere to ensure that regardless of what's going on outside, regardless of what's showing on in the news, within my house, I don't want to show that I'm struggling to affect also the upbringing of my children. Because if I am going through a stressful period financially, I want to ensure that my children will not be traumatized by this season, because it's a season, it will pass. I don't want them to be affected by this. So I will look in, there's many things that we can do online, hacks, tips on what I can do also to
advise as well from community, from Protect Project.
Exactly.
In terms of, we'll come back to it. Tips we can find online, advice from Protect Project signposting. For instance, that with Protect Project is Luton-based charities.
Yes.
Dedicated promoting the right and welfare of youth and African families.
Hey, that's
We'll
true.
come back to it. The Protect production team selected quite a few tracks for today. I know cost of living is sometimes it's difficult to share this topic, but we have to share, as Naomi said. It's a taboo in African community. Sometimes we keep things on our own. We don't like to share our struggle. But Protect Project is there. You need advice. You can protect. You're not alone here.
Yes.
Don't suffer alone. So we will share in the coming days, up to the days to come. We'll share quite a few tips, advice. This is just the first show, and we'll come back after this track. And Naomi is still live.
Yes, I am.
With us here on AUK Radio, a special Sunday to talk about cost of living in Luton around Black African families. Welcome to AUK Radio. Apologies for the technical issue we had today with the music. Naomi Mbungue is still with us. Naomi, before the break, we were talking about the impact. That's the impact of cost of living on mental health.
That's correct.
Within our community.
Yes.
I mean, Black African families.
Yes.
And mostly youth, because you, as a youth advisor, you volunteer at Protect Project as a youth advisor, and you're business owner. You've seen that, you've noticed that. That's your observation around the mental health. So what else as a community can we do at Protect Project, yourself as a volunteer, Protect Project can do in terms of alleviating that issue?
One thing that we should do within the community is also embrace when someone is saying that I'm struggling mentally. Let's not just push them or isolate them in a corner and say, you know what, I'm a believer. You know, we're all believers. Everyone has the right to believe who they believe and what they believe. But there are certain things that not every single faith thing will help unless it's discussed. There is the role of religion, there's the role of belief, but there's also the role of the individual as well to embark a certain journey or embark a few steps. That is why Protect Project, as an organization, we will signpost people also in terms of what support is also provided for themselves if they are struggling mentally. This is such a sensitive topic, and I believe that as we are going to develop this later on in other shows, but as a community, let's embrace when someone says, I am struggling. Because it's not just struggling as an individual, there's also mothers who are also struggling. Postpartum as well, depression is also affecting a lot of mothers as well within the community. And what they're told is just, don't worry, we'll pray about it, that's fine, but it's not okay.
It's not okay.
That's not okay.
But it's difficult, isn't it, to, if someone is not sharing that he's struggling, it's difficult sometimes to know that this person is really struggling. This family is really struggling.
Yeah.
Are there signs? Isn't it? I know you know specialists on the matter, but there are some signs that you recognize that this family is going through challenges.
There are signs, and sometimes there are certain triggers. Maybe you can mention something and automatically someone can just react or manifest to one thing that's been mentioned. Then you can kind of indicate and observe and say, okay, they're probably struggling in this area. But there's also certain things that some people, it's not written on someone's forehead that I'm struggling mentally. Sometimes we have to be very sensitive because everyone is going through their own issue. Whenever we do speak, let's check up on people. Maybe you haven't heard up on someone in a very long time. Send them a message, give them a call, maybe just go around and see them, offer them, I'll say, you know what, let's just go out for myself, I'm going to take you out for lunch. If you love cooking, make them a wonderful dish. There's certain things that will help someone also feel as if I can open up to and they can be off guard. But some people are very guarded in terms of how people also present themselves to them. If I present to you all the time, I'm okay, I'm perfect, I'm this, everything is okay, and you talk down on people who are struggling, then it'll be difficult for the other person to come to you and say, I'm struggling in this area. So we shouldn't minimize certain trials that people are going through. Let's have a heart of compassion as well.
But I think you serve as youth advisor and business owner. You notice that on your business as well. You notice that on your activities. So that it doesn't reflect on mental health, but you notice that families or that person, before, that's the way he used to present, but now it has changed. It has changed.
And also one thing I've noticed, as you said, as a youth leader, as a youth community advisor, as an advisor for the younger generation, I just sense, one thing I sense is also the way their appearance. I will sense and notice that they are not upkeeping themselves as they normally should or as they would. That will be an indicator for me and say there is something that's going on here. There's something that I will see a certain change in behavior. There's many certain points that I can mention, but also as a business owner within the events industry. So we can see that it's very stressful. It's very stressful within the events industry. We do all types of events, but of course the one that's on the rise right now is wedding season. There's back-to-back weddings, and it's the fact there's back-to-back weddings. When I speak to brides, I like to listen to them and say, okay, how do you, for example, how would you like a wedding to? How do you cope with this? How do you cope with that? And they always say, oh, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that, and I always remind them.
Stress for financial impact, pressure, or
financial impact and pressure. And some pressures is because they are pressuring themselves to impress others because they want to make a wonderful impression, which is fine. It's your day. You want to do whatever you want to do. But one thing I always remind them, I said, this 5-6 hours will pass. And after that, the real life begins. So do things for yourself, for your own memory, and not to please others, because at the end of the day, they eat, they drink, they go back home.
Just for a few hours.
For a few hours. And don't overstress yourself. Do things within your own means. We go back to the cost of living. Do things within your own means. If you earn a certain amount per year, look around, speak to venue owners, and mention to them and say, listen, this is how much I earn. There's a budget. Install something that what you can do that is affordable. If you can afford 50 guests, go ahead with 50 guests. You can afford 30, go ahead. You can afford 100, go ahead with 100. But there's also people are stressed after the actual,
after the wedding.
there's the bills, and then there's the cost of living, and then many people now want to go into the home owning. They want to own homes, and there's all this pressures that is happening to the young generation. Especially when I speak to youths, is they're very, very pressured in terms of their image. They're pressured in terms of their profile. They want to look a certain way. They want to fit in. They want a certain job. They want to drive a certain car. There's all these pressures.
So peer pressure, it plays a role as well.
It does. Peer pressure, and sometimes it's family pressure. Sometimes it's family pressure where they're also pressured by their own parents, their siblings, because your older sibling did this. That means you have to do the exact same thing or even better. Whereas everyone has their own journey and everyone has their own roots. So we want to signpost people to do what is correct. And I myself remember when the project came about, I was very, very young. So I'm just to say one of the I would say the generations from the genesis from where it started and how it's going until today. And I've also benefited a lot from it as well. And that is why, as a volunteer, I also want to share what I've learned also onto others as well.
I know before COVID, you were quite actively involved. Your business was booming.
Yeah.
It's still the same things after the COVID and now with the cost of living, or you notice the decrease of orders from your clients. The market is still the same.
Yes, the market is still the same, but there's a change, which meant that I had to go and re-educate myself. Because at first I thought I know how to cook, I know how to do this, I know how to do plan events, but the industry is forever evolving. And we're also being taught on how we can also on our side budget and also do effective accounting as well is very important, because we don't want to overspend, because there's also implications on yourself, staffing, and all sorts of things. But from COVID until present, there is a massive difference. Whereas beforehand, after COVID, there was a limit on weddings where it was 30 person and then 15 people, 30 people, and the venues. There was all of these restrictions. It was very difficult for whether caterer, whether you're a decorator. There was so much implications, which meant that the wedding industry became very, very limited on the resources, which meant that there was a lot of cuts that had to be made, meaning a lot of people we were not able to give jobs to certain people because we didn't have enough money because of what was coming in. This is what they have. They want a certain amount of people. I won't be able to provide 5 staff, 10 staff. So everything became very, very restricted. Whereas I would say now it has recovered. There's a massive recovery, but we also had to change the route of the business. We had to change things and also adapt to how society is going and re-educate ourselves as well.
It's very important what you're saying. I've noticed something that you mentioned in terms of most of your clients. You need to advise, sometimes you do advise them in terms of to limit the expenses, to go around the budget, but think after the post-wedding. Do you think it is something that as African we do bear in mind in terms of budgeting? That is very key issue, isn't it? Do we know in terms of we run business, you run business. Sometimes we personally 10 years ago I didn't know the notion of budgeting, projections, how much I'm earning, how much I may earn in a year to come, and how should I budget myself? Do you think this is something that we as African we should bear in mind?
We should, and this is something that I'm also learning as well. I'm also watching certain videos and just say, how can I budget effectively for whether it's a project for myself, for the younger generation, for the youth, for myself. Budgeting is key. When a client will say, okay, this is what I want to say, what is your budget? Let's work within your means. It's very important, because someone can say, they want something very extravagant, but their budget is very, very limited.
I want 7 stars a wedding.
They're like, I want guests to be served 4 times. I want guests to eat this. I want that. I want this. But what is your budget? That's the most important thing, because many vendors may not say this, but many vendors are just hungry. They just want to get your money, and then they won't be able to deliver on the actual day. But at the end of the day, I like to keep a good rapport with everyone and say, let's work together. Let's build a wonderful canvas. Let's build something that it will give a lasting impression, and your guest will say, I went to this event and I saw this and I really, really liked it. We worked within the means. Let's be creative.
Within the means, I remember my wife went to one of the weddings. The guests, they were all 20 here in Luton, and the bride, the groom, they were very particular in terms of, us, we like to invite the friend of uncle's friend of friend. But that particular grooms and brides, they were very particular.
Yes.
They limit everything, that you only one guest.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be couple, supposed to join my wife, but she made it clear that I'm the only one who was invited.
Yes.
We only 25 guests.
Imagine.
For both families were invited, and the witness and the bride is quite key, isn't it? That's when you're budgeting, when you know how to budget, it will help you in terms of to limit, to mitigate the risk of cost of living and the risk of mental health, is it?
Yes, because many people are stressed afterwards because there's a massive bill that has to be paid off afterwards, or many brides and grooms can't even afford food after getting married, let alone barely paying off their rent. That's probably what they're able to provide, but food on the table is quite restricted. Some people probably eating food from what the caterer gave to them, left over in the freezer. They're warming it up. These are the realities that people do not say. Wedding industry has become very, very, not even just a wedding, but events overall, because everything is per head. The people are ensuring that, are you going to come? If you're not going to come, please let me know, because these are costs that people are paying. That 30, that £50, that £60, it's can go towards something else. So this is just a little advice to those who are coming. Please respect invitations. If you are invited, please, show the decency or the courtesy of at least respecting that invitation, because this is budgeting, hours of Excel spreadsheets, hours of calculations that people are putting together to usher you or to welcome you to their special event, their special day. So within our African community, we have seen a shift. Even some parents are also now becoming welcome into the idea of, so let's have a certain amount. Whereas beforehand,
just invite all family,
the whole village. And most of the times you don't even see them again, and you don't even know who they are, and they're greeting you like, I don't know who this person is. But then it's the joy of it as well. It's really nice. It's the whole part of the African community. But there is a change, there is a shift, there's a revolution. So let's go with the flow.
We're going to finish now. Yeah. Lastly, we're talking about mental health, which might be impacted because of cost of living. But now we're in a holiday period where leisure activities are across. Young people, yourself, you were young youth ambassadors many years. When you were young yourself, you said you started when you were 14.
Yes.
And you know the benefit of being active. How during that period of time on holiday, in terms of leisure, and young people, young African, they're home now. Some of them, they may not even be able to afford to go on holiday.
That's true.
Even to go to the park.
That's very true.
There's a few activities in the park where you may spend 5, 10, 15 pounds. Some of them may not be able, so they may stay home or stay in the garden or stay outside. They cannot be able to afford it. Do you think that may impact as well on young people? We talk about mental health on families, on parents. They may impact on young people mental health as well.
Definitely. It triggers, and I've noticed that the young people who have not had that time to explore and go and do various activities, especially during the school holidays or just on the weekends, as they grow older, they refrain from offering themselves certain opportunities to go on holiday. They would just want to work because it's a pattern that they have seen in the household, that I have to work and I won't have time to spend on myself or to look after myself. And it's very important where parents within African parents, or we want to advise African parents that even if it's okay if you can't afford a holiday, even if you just take them out of Luton or just somewhere where they can just spend a day. If you won't be able to afford to buy food, pack some food, make some food in advance, what food that they like eating. You can also prepare that so that they can enjoy when they're in the park as well. And they won't even sense or feel the need to purchase something outside, because there is something that is even better that's offered to them, that's homemade. So it's important that for us to also understand that what is it that we can provide as a community, where some parents cannot afford to take their children on holiday.
Tips of activities which can be made outside.
Exactly, totally. That's where we have to step in, and we are stepping in and we are observing. So we are observing from many, many homes and seeing what can we do to be sure that the next summer holiday, this will be provided. That will be there. Not just the summer holidays, the Christmas holidays. So it's instead of the half term, there's many things over the weekends as well. But it does affect their mental health, because when they do go back to school or they go back to their universities and colleges, their friends will be saying, I traveled here, we did this, we did that. And then it causes this certain... Some kids have grown up hating their parents. Because my mom couldn't afford
this, I miss that, they couldn't afford this. Yeah. But they don't understand the real issue behind it.
They don't understand the real issue behind it, that they were not able to afford. Or maybe their parents just thought, my role is just to pay the bills and do this, where budgeting comes back in place. Whereas there's various opportunities that if you were planning, for example, from January, you can pay off things in installments. Where you say, okay, every month I'm going to pay £50 towards this holiday. Or just having certain, even in the banks, where you can have like a piggy bank. You put in, for example, £50, £100, that goes towards a holiday. That will just make a massive difference as well. So like we said, we're learning.
Naomi, thank you for your time. These very important issues to discuss during that period of time, mostly where young people are on holiday, so leisure activities. And if you are there, your parents, you're listening to us, I know we're going through a difficult time with regard to cost of living. The project is giving few tips here, and signposting as well, like you say, signposting. Some of activities that us as a parent, we may know, maybe not know.
Exactly.
But you be able to, during the period of time, you'll be coming with us quite often. The next show will be, we will announce when the next show is going to be, where you bring more tips,
of course,
signposting. A project as yourself as a volunteer, you share tips on what to do, activity in the park, going outside, savings as well, to plan for the future, budgeting. Those are the few elements. So if people who are listening to us, they want to find details on the project, there is a website.
Yes, there is a website, and there is also the social media pages as well that they can find us on. And then on the social media pages, like you say, we'll signpost to you who you can speak to. There's an email address as well, the Protect Project social media pages, where you can contact us, speak to us. If you have some feedback as well that you want to provide, and provide any suggestions on how we can also improve as an organization, please feel free. Or they can also contact us through AUK Radio as well, most importantly, and then we will be able to implement the changes from what you have shared as well.
Project, so protectproject.org.uk, that's the website. info@protectproject.org.uk. The details to get in touch. Protect Project is on Twitter, Protect Project. There you can drop Protect Project a line. So text, you'll be able to respond. So thank you for that. Thank you, Naomi, for your time and for being such a valuable contributor. You volunteer at Project. I remind that you are a youth advisor and business owner.
Yes, I am.
And thank you. You've been there listening to us. So if you do have any questions to Naomi or Project, please do so. Naomi will be able to come back next time. We will still need to confirm when the next show is going to be, but definitely it will be a weekend between Saturday and Sunday. It will be either special Saturday or special Sunday on AUK Radio. Thank you. We'll catch up with you next time. Any last message, Naomi, before we conclude?
Last message is thank you so much for welcoming me here. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and also to share what Protect Project is all about. And also, as I mentioned, I am within the events industry, which is Marshall Cuisine and events. So we don't just do events, but we also speak to clients in terms of how they can also save effectively for their event as well. And we also liaise and send them towards other vendors that we know who are cost friendly, where they won't charge them excessively as well, which is very important. So it's not just that, there's also the youth work that we also do as well to also implement positive influence within the community in Luton as well. And thank you so much, and I look forward to the next upcoming show.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.